Hi everyone, this is Michael Tabarati of michaeltabarati.com, and in today's video I'm going to be talking about work ethic and why you really need to make sure you have the right sort of work ethic, especially when starting your own personal brand and business. Now, at the end of the day, if you want to be successful in anything that you do, it's very important to make sure that you apply the work, regardless of whether you're trying to hit each thing within the life cycle or life circle. So that is, social, relationships, spiritual, business, finance, personal, all of that kind of stuff. It's important to make sure that you have the right sort of work ethic. And at the same time, you want to make sure you have the right sort of balance, but balance is dependent upon what your main aims and primary goals are in life. So work ethic is basically applying a certain amount of effort into whatever it is that you're doing. Now, the thing that keeps me going, the thing that allows me to produce content or coach people or do talks and do all this other stuff that any sort of personal brand is aiming to do in this space, is the fact that I have perspective and context. Perspective and context really allows me to define what it is that I want to do and aim for when it comes to success. Because for me, it's about a sense of freedom. It's about a sense of expression. It's about making sure that I'm there to educate people and help people get the most value that they can. So that requires me to be as useful as possible. So it's perspective and context. And the way I've been able to develop that is to be able to understand who I am as an individual. I need to understand what my background looks like, what happened to my sort of parents and my family, and where I live. Like, what's the history behind that? Because history gives you an idea of what you need to do going forward in the future. So remember, history and background is really, really important. What is your cultural heritage? How did your parents get to where they got to now? How did you get to where you are now? Like, what sort of loopholes and different things did you have to overcome in order to do the things that you're doing? So understand that background and perspective. In addition to that, it's very important to understand, like, what are the things that you actually want out of life? And if you do your background and your history the first time round, then you can get perspective as to what it is that you actually want to have in your life. Okay, who do you want to be? What do you want to have? What do you want to do? Those are the different things that you need to think about based on what you've experienced so far. Okay, so maybe you want to write down a list of different things that you want in your life, specific, maybe in this instance, for your business goals or your financial goals, or for your personal development, leadership and mindset goals. Whatever it is that you want to focus on, you need to think about what it is that you want out of life. Then following from that, I think it's important to state what you don't want out of life. Be very clear, because if you have those expectations from the get-go, then you need to avoid or move away from those different scenarios or situations. I don't think it's a bad thing to remove yourself from a situation, because at the end of the day, it's your life and you need to make sure that you guard it, respect it, and grow in the way that you want to grow as an individual, because there's no other rule. There's no other rule, regardless of what anybody says. It's up to you to decide how you want to grow, how you want to grow. And, from an average sort of collective perspective, we see it as we want to grow in the most positive and impactful way possible that is aligned to our inner desires. And those inner desires are backed by what has happened in our history, what's happened in our past, how our ideas shape sort of like how we think as an individual. And that defines what we want and what we don't want. In addition to that, you also need to think about what you need to compromise in order for you to get the things that you want and get the things that you don't want. And this is where it requires a sense of discipline. This is where it requires a sense of patience, because if you can develop that discipline, if you can develop that patience, then you can start getting the things that you want. You'll start avoiding the things that you don't want, and you will learn to compromise when it comes to those situations. But again, how do you actually get to a stage of making this all theoretical and making this actually practical? The next step, the third step, is really about understanding and knowledge and education. Education means to be enlightened or get enlightening from whatever it is that you're actually revealed to. So it's about making sure you're as educated as possible to increase the confidence. And education can be done in so many different ways. Education can be done through reading, listening, watching, doing, and watching other people do what they're doing. So you actually understand what you need to do yourself. So you need to educate yourself as much as possible. Okay. The best form of education is taking action. Okay, if you really want to get, signed up to success, it's about taking action, but you can't just take action straight away. I think it is sensible to do some sort of reading, watching, listening, and understand what the process looks like. Check other people within your industry, check to see what they're doing, and understand how they've gone from A to B in order to get C and get the things that they need to get. It's very important to make sure you understand the methodology and the basic process behind what it is that you need to do, and then go out there and execute. Read, 5 to 10 books or whatever it is in the next 2 months or 3 months or 6 months, depending on how quickly you read. Go to as many events as possible and meet the people within your industry. Maybe watch as many sort of like YouTube videos and podcasts, so you incept your mind, you condition your mind, you train your mind to start thinking about what it needs to do in order to get out and do the things that you need to do to get success. Okay, so that's education. And the fourth part, which is linked to education, is taking action. Okay, taking action based on what you've learned. And the first way you can take action is to educate other people of what you've learned. Okay, it's very important. The other way you can take action is actually implement the stuff that you've learned and see if you get a result. Monitor the results, monitor the progress. It's very important to do that. But you can see how this all links to background, history, knowing what you want, knowing what you don't want, knowing what you need to compromise, understanding you need to be educated, and then going out there and trialing and doing the stuff that you've learned in order for you to get results and say, I need to focus on doing this, I need to stop doing this, and then I will see where I need to go. So once you do all of that stuff, then it's about making sure that you embed your mind with the right sort of continuous confidence, because at the end of the day, you are going to feel sort of like down and sad and all this kind of stuff because we're human. Okay, at the end, we're supposed to feel these things. It's not a bad thing. It's a way of us understanding that something's not quite right, or we're feeling a certain way, and feelings express inner sort of like information that we need to internalize in order for us to know what to do next. Okay, those are what feelings are. So in that context, you need to decide, you need to train your brain, your mind to understand what good looks like, what bad looks like, what is safe and what is not safe. So in this instance, I think it's important to make sure that you have some sort of personal development involved in what it is that you're doing. Okay, read the right sort of books, speak to the right sort of people. If anything, I think the most important thing is to have the right sort of people in your circle. If your friends are the ones who are putting you down and not really doing the things that they're doing, or your family is subject to this stuff as well, you need to get rid of them. And when I say get rid of them, what I mean is don't make them part of your day to day, or don't make them part of the number of hours, the most number of hours within your day that prevents you from doing what you need to do, because it becomes toxic. You need to create an environment that enables you to do work, to feel positive, to feel happy. So maybe you need to go to the library. Maybe you need to go to Costa or Starbucks. Maybe you need to hang around in your workspace and do more work. Maybe you need to go meet up your friends at their house and see what they're doing so you can get encouraged to do what you're doing. Maybe you need to have conversations with people on a weekly, monthly, or bi-weekly basis in order just to get that pickup and share what you've done, listen to what they've done as well, and really just understand what challenges and wins that you've had so you can grow together as individuals. That's why I really recommend an accountability buddy, making sure that you meet with them on a weekly or bi-weekly basis via telephone, via teleconference, or face-to-face, or even a mastermind group that you have on a monthly basis minimum, in order to see what the collective are saying in terms of their goals, and not being afraid to get rid of those people if it just doesn't work out. So be really sort of clinical and really sort of aggressive with the people that you have in your circle. It's really, really important because they really do influence you as individuals. But yes, make sure you have a personal development plan in place and you listen and read and really get incepted by stuff around human psychology, about how our brains think, how we work, and all of that kind of stuff, to the point where it just gets so ridiculously not overwhelming, but boring, should I say, that you just want to take action, okay? Because you need to get to a point where you manage your mind. That's why I wrote the book, Understand, Reach, Expand, 15 Super Effective Ways to Manage Your Mind. And if you've realized that I always say understand, reach, expand at the end of my videos, it's because I think that is the process. You need to understand what's happening. Then you need to go out there and actually reach and do the things that you need to do and expand. You want to make sure that you grow as an individual and let others grow around you as well. So that's what work ethic allows you to do, or should I say, that's what all these different things can allow you to do in terms of improving your work ethic, because you have knowledge, you have understanding, you have the right sort of feelings towards what you need to do, you have the right sort of brain power and thinking and thoughts and ideas around what it is that you need to do. And you just need to do it. It's about being responsible. It's about being resilient. It's about being realistic. Those are the three things that I use to describe me as an individual, those three R's. But being resilient and knowing that at the end of the day, there are things I'm going to have to accept and I'm just going to have to do it. It was Viktor Frankl who once said in his book, Man's Search for Meaning, I'm not going to actually say it word for word, but basically paraphrasing, he said that at the end of the day, you're always going to be thrown stimuli or responses or things into your environment. But it's how you respond to those different stimuli that determines who you are as an individual. You get to control how you respond to those different stimulus. And once you understand you get to control how you respond in different situations, it's mind blown. It's crazy. Like, I can respond how I want. Yes, okay, I may be in a terrible situation and I acknowledge that, but I can remove myself from the situation, look around and see, wow, this isn't great, but how am I going to respond? And I think there is some sort of comforting in that, because at the end of the day, we have dominion over us in terms of how we respond to different situations. So when it comes back to you, when it comes back to your work ethic, it means that you need to understand that if there's no other way to get out of your situation, apart from producing the content that you need to produce, doing the Facebook ads that you need to do, going to the events and networking with the right sort of people so you can get that right sort of attraction towards your products and services, if there's nothing else, then you need to do those things. Stop complaining and do those things. There's no other way. There's no magic formula. Focus on doing the work. Check out the results, monitor the results, make sure you have the right sort of circle, get context and perspective so you keep on doing those things, and then I promise you, you'll get the results that you will get. But it takes work, it takes time, it takes patience. It's not going to be done very quickly. It's going to be done over months and years. And you need to understand this, because once you do understand it, once the penny drops, you'll be working. You won't worry about your 9 to 5. You'll just be working. You'll be doing your 9 to 5 and working after work or before work or whatever it is. Yes, you'll still be able to maintain some sort of social life, but you'll understand what the priority is. And once you know what the priorities are based on your situation before and what you're aiming to do and what you've learned and all those different things, then, my friends, then your work ethic will be on fire. Hopefully, this is something that you really needed to listen to and you appreciated. If you like this video, make sure you subscribe and check out other videos like this. Give this a thumbs up if you really enjoyed this video, and share this with anyone who you believe really needs to listen to this. Anyway, until next time, take care, God bless, understand, reach, and expand. Peace.